Senator Schmitt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Johnson, I wanted to kind of explore your idea of these tech hubs. I'm from St. Louis area, and St. Louis has been identified, and there's a lot of assets there. So you've got NGA, you've got the Taylor Institute there. There's a lot of alignment that can be a draw. One of the challenges, I think, as we talk about workforce, is there is a misalignment in higher education, right? You've got a lot of 4 years that chase degrees for enrollment. You've got community colleges trying to figure out where they fit in. You've got these apprenticeship programs that, as you mentioned in your opening comments, maybe sometimes are limited to what that particular company might need. So with that as sort of the backdrop, how does this actually work? Because I'm intrigued by this, and I think it's an encouraging idea. We do need to have, I think, a industrial base that's more widely dispersed. We've talked about the dangers in our supply chain. And so let's just take St. Louis as an example. It could be anywhere. It could be in Rhode Island or somewhere else. How does this actually work? How do we get in 5 to 10 years a place where somebody who wants to work on nuclear submarines, so not necessarily just the engineer that's got the 4-year degree, how does this work? How does alignment work in a tech hub?
So St. Louis is a fascinating example, Senator, in part because you were one of the country's leading tech hubs
Right.
100, 120 years ago, right? And one very unfortunate thing that happened, and I don't have any particular person to blame on this, is that as innovation moved to East and West Coast, you got less innovation, less corporate headquarters in St. Louis, but not for any particularly good reason, right? I mean, people have got strange reasons like the way where airline routes went and so on, but it's not, you've got a lot of talent. The talent can't move, doesn't want to move, shouldn't need to move. I think tying it to my answer to Senator Kelly, if Congress has, and if the relevant agencies have priority sectors to pursue and places that are available, including with state and local support, which would be making sure the workforce develops. Senator Scott made very good points about that. Also available housing, I would say, Senator Schmitt. So it's not, you're not adding 10,000 workers, but they have nowhere to live, so the price of housing goes up, and that means you've got to pay them a high wage or they just won't come. So I think that looking for that combination, and I think St. Louis scores very highly in our metrics because it seems to us that you have exactly that kind of combination of circumstances. But we found 102 places in 36 states that have potential. And honestly, a country this size, with science being so important to our economy and to our national defense, we should be running a massive portfolio of these deep science investments, looking for ways to commercialize them, getting those public-private partnerships with state and local support. But the federal government is the catalyst. Without the federal government, you're not going to be able to move the needle. And we've done it before, and you agreed to do it again in the CHIPS and Science Act.
So that's from your answer there. That seems like that's a research investment side. But on the workforce piece, I'm genuinely curious. So let's say I'm a 17-year-old in high school, and I want to pursue this path where there's some immediate opportunities. What does that look like, or what should it look like for that individual to try to navigate to get to a place where we want to be within that tech hub?
So Senator Scott talked about workforce planning at the state level. I think it's better done at state and local than at the federal level, where he was matching up incoming investment or defense contractors who said, we're going to need this kind of jobs over this many years. He was matching it up with people coming out of the high schools, I think in particular high schools and the technical colleges. I think that's exactly the right thing to do, Senator. I think that apprenticeships are undervalued by the private sector because you train the apprentice leaves, so the private company doesn't want to do it. But from a public policy point of view and from a St. Louis point of view, more people who've completed apprenticeships is good for your local economy, particularly if they don't want to move or are not inclined to move to the East and West Coast. Then you've got this very strong trained labor force, including with the middle skills that we've all been emphasizing and agreeing on. And I think this is a completely bipartisan consensus across the country. When I talk to people, it's not politicized at all. Everybody wants something in this direction. The federal government, though, is the critical catalyst. And then deciding which sectors and lining it up with the defense industrial base, that's a brilliant piece to add. Because if we know that submarines are important, or we know that aircraft are a certain kind of important, then you know there's going to be a 20-year commitment to that from a national security point of view, then you can plan a lot more activities around that, including the location for those innovations.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have anything to add to, yeah.
Yes, Senator. The reality is, if I'm going to use the example of that 17-year-old, first of all, he or she needs to know what the opportunities are. So I'm sitting out in Florissant or wherever I am, and I just don't even know what the possibilities are by virtue of my background. And then we've got to specifically articulate a pathway that may not, and oftentimes doesn't require a 4-year college degree. It could be that, young man, if you do this for 6 months, this could prepare you for an apprenticeship that could get you this job, et cetera. So we literally, the biggest problem that we're hearing from young people is they understand what the government says it needs or what our country says it needs. They just don't know the pathway to get there. So educating, old school guidance counselors, like, right, everyone's not going to college, you may be going to the workforce. This is how you prepare yourselves for that. Those are the two most important things as we're hearing from younger potential workers. And we talk to high school students a lot, and they're like, listen, I know what I think I want to do. That sounds interesting. And if you can pay me $35 an hour at 20 years old, why not, without debt from college, et cetera? I just don't know how that works. So articulating to the future workforce how it all works will go a long way towards solving for these talent challenges.
Bring back shop class. Let them work with their hands. Let them build things. Let them tinker. Let them print things with a 3D printer. Let them be creative. They can see then that there's a path for me to do these mid-skill jobs, that there's dignity in that the country needs that, it's valued. And in that shop class, you can make the pitch.
Bring back civics and shop class. Let's do it. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Schmitt.